Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to League Racing TV here for round number 8 of the Esports Masters League Console 1 Championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action as always on a Wednesday evening. Guys, we are here, it is round number 8. We are getting in to the midst now of crunch time in the championship. We're in the second half of the season, about to enter the final third of the season. At the end of tonight, who will be the teams to keep an eye on as we get into the remaining races in the championship. But tonight, guys, we are here in Sin City. It is time for Las Vegas, of course, where we're going to see a lot of drivers really going to be pushing the limits, and this will live up to the city that we are going to be racing at, because everyone's going to be gambling with the walls, because it's so easy just to miss your braking point, nip a little bit of that front wing off on any of the walls. Turn 5, of course, down at Caesars, another one that can be a bit of a corner to keep an eye on. Of course, I was at the end of a DRS chat, and look who is in the chat immediately. Here's the man with the legend. Here's Jav. Love a Wednesday. I get to hear Michael Edwards. I am glad you are here, Jav. But let's take a look at the Las Vegas circuit in question here tonight. It is, of course, a 6.1 kilometer, 3.8 mile circuit in length. 14 corners. So it says 17, but I believe it is only 14 corners. If I remember correctly, a lot of the corners don't really count as corners, if I'm not mistaken. So that might just need a little bit of an update. But yeah, there we go, guys. 2 DRS zones, 1 down in towards turn number 5, and of course 1 down in towards turn number 14. Going to provide a lot of overtaking opportunities for the drivers out there on track. Of course, down the start finish straight, there's going to be another key overtaking area running down in towards turn number 1, and we're going to see how the drivers are going to get through that. Let's just say that, because going around this circuit battling, there are some areas on the circuit where you can have some brilliant battles. Of course, in that middle sector through 7, 8, and 9 on the map, definitely a key area where you could see a little bit of side-by-side action, but it's not really recommended in those corners. But you can get some great racing there, that is for sure. Looking at the championship here tonight, of course, a big victory last time out for CPI in Canada means that the gap between themselves and Neverlast Racing is now at 30 points dead. 30 points dead. There we go. It's 189 points for CPI Esports, 159 points for Neverlast Racing Esports. And then, of course, in third place at the moment, GT10, they're on 124. They are 8 points ahead of EVE, Avisio Racing. They're in fourth place. And, of course, on 104 points, it is Optimum Velocity Racing, OVR, in fifth place. And after a big result for IRT Esports last time out in Canada, they move a little bit further away from FRT and they close up on OVR. So IRT on a bit of a late charge here in this part of the season. They're on 90 points in sixth place. 76 points for FRT, Future Racing Team, in seventh place. And of course we got VMV in eighth place on 42 points, just ahead, 6 points clear of False Group Esports, FGE. And then, of course, last but not least, they did get points last time out. They are now on 9 points. It is, of course, Legacy Racing LR. So they're going to be looking to carry on the momentum from a points finish last time out. And here are the drivers that are going to be racing around the circuit here tonight. I believe there has been, one change, if I remember correctly. I'm just going to quickly make sure that that is the case and there wasn't any last minute changes, as we will bring that up in just a moment. Yeah, it is just the one change. So let's run you through the grid. In the Red Bulls here tonight, we have Momioto, as I know I've absolutely butchered that, mate. I can only apologize. But Mino Tora there in the Red Bull, along with Brent for FGE. For LR, we have Turbo Toms and Kieran in the Mercedes. For CPI in the McLarens, we have Casper and Finley. In the Scuderia Ferraris for GT10, we have Quads and Mad Dogs. For EVE in the Aston Martins, we have Plex and Tals. For OVR in the Alpines, we have Nassim and Nock. VMV, of course, scheduled to be Indian and Rizzo, but there was a late change around about 2 hours ago now. Indian, unfortunately, having to step out of the action here tonight, and he's going to be replaced by Noisky coming in his place. So it's going to be Noisky and Rizzo in the Williams for VMV. For FRT, we have Rappies and Woods. For Neverlast Racing in the Saubers, we have Sura and, of course, a Gravroach. So a very decent lineup there for Neverlast Racing. And, of course, IRT, we have Brian and, of course, Seeb in the Haas F1 cars. Now, guys, coming in tonight, we got CPI, who have been able to build a nice gap in the championship. A lot of that has been down to the imperious driving of Francesco Lago, who has been on top over the past few races. But of course, with Francesco Lago not here tonight, it opens the door a little bit. It really does. It opens the door to see who is going to be able to climb up the pecking order just a little bit and maybe get themselves into the championship fight. For Neverlast Racing, this is a big race for them. Of course, the Las Vegas circuit is one of those tracks where you are going to be seeing a decent bit of chaos, I'm going to say, because the track just promotes a bit of chaos. Like the DRS zone down the Las Vegas Strip provides a lot of overtaking opportunities, and it is so easy to miss your braking point into towards turn number 14, and that's going to be an absolute nightmare for all the drivers out there on track, that is for sure. But CPI, they have a bit of a buffer, and of course, for those that are not familiar with the point system here in the Esports Masters League, a quick reminder of the point system: 22 points for the race victory, 18 points for second place, 15 points for third, 12 points for fourth place, 11 points for fifth, and it continues down in increments of 1 all the way down to 15th, where you get one singular point for 15th place. Also, there is a point for pole position, so we will be finding out if anyone's going to be closing the gap early on at the end of qualifying. And then, of course, there's a point for fastest lap. So if you are down the order, it's always best to keep going. Don't give up, because maybe you can jump in the pits late, chuck on a set of the soft compound tyres, and go for the fastest lap to pick up an extra point for your team. The drivers are beginning to ready up to go into qualifying in just a moment's time. But before we do, a massive shout out to our sponsors at Ronan Printworks 3D. Of course, providing a lot of 3D work in terms of steering wheel molds, which of course is absolutely incredible. And we thank Ronan Printworks for their sponsorship over the course of this season. Well, ladies and gentlemen, round 8 of 12 this season. This is the longest Esports Masters League season that we have ever had in the history of the Esports Masters League, and we are now entering the final third of the championship. By the end of tonight, there will only be 4 races remaining in the season, and that means now every single point really does matter that little bit more. It matters so much to all the teams out there, and it is going to be very intriguing to see who is going to be, the team that is coming out on top of that. And I believe what's called the track map I was looking at on one side of my monitor was a completely different track map to the one that was up on the stream, and it was the one that was up on the stream that was correct. So guys, yeah, I had an oopsie, but there we go. It's life is great when you get multiple track maps up, and they are all different in their own sense. But let's head out to the action on track as the entire grid are flooding out onto the track, and I believe the first car out of the lot might be one of the RBs. It is one of the RBs. It is FRT Rappies, who is that man who is going to be out on his first flying lap of the session. They're all on out laps right now. Looking at the tyre compound, everyone going for a set of the soft compound tyre, as you would expect. And of course, we are going to see a lot of near collisions with the wall. As you see, Rappies here trying to warm up the tyres. A little bit of tyre temp management is going to be needed from these guys. Get the tyres in the optimum temperature to make sure that they have maximum tyre temperature as possible to set the most ideal lap early on. Rappies though, he's going to get the screen time, and he's going to be the man who will take us on a lap here of Las Vegas as we get qualifying underway here. So Rappies now heading up to the final corner, turn 17, the left hand kink coming onto the start finish straight to get the lap underway, heading down in towards turn number 1, breaking down 4th gear, getting the car rotated through turns number 1 and 2, now in towards turn number 3, looking for a good exit through number 4 as you open DRS, running down in towards the braking zone at turn number 5. Gotta be very pinpoint accurate here. You don't want to be locking up, going a little bit too deep, because that wall on the exit can come at you very quickly. Now through the left-hander at turn number 6, in towards turn number 7, breaking down hard, getting onto the curbs now through 7 and 8, and now the left-hander at turn number 9. Very easy for the back end to step out of you on the exit of turn number 9, but Rappy's doing a great job there in keeping it all managed. Now through turn number 10, in towards turn number 11, a good overtaking opportunity down here, in towards turn number 12, as you try to maybe set yourself up for a good launch onto the Las Vegas strip, as DRS will be activated as we run down here, and there it is in about 100 meters time. Boom, there it is, DRS wide open for Rappies as we fly down to the hard braking zone at turn number 14, braking down, making sure he does not take too much of that inside curb, coming through 14, 15 and 16, and now there's nothing to do but put your foot to the floor as you try to get the maximum out of the lap time as possible. Rappies keeping it tight, and it's a 30.3 to get proceedings underway here in qualifying, as we're seeing lap times coming in. Syra there coming through with a 29.8, so we're already into the 29s. I see there 30.1 goes up into P2. We're on board with Finley for CPI as he is coming down towards the start finish line, and we're going to see what lap time he's going to be putting on the board for CPI. He goes up into P2, and quite rightly is Neverlast Racing versus CPI at the top. Casper has decided to come into the pits, as has Graf Roach, so we have Neverlast Racing and CPI sandwiching the field right now, as Quats for GT10 also into the 29s. Look at that, 4 hundredths of a second between Finley and Quats in qualifying thus far, and around about 75 thousandths of a second between Syra and of course Quats in terms of the top 3. So very, very close between those guys at the top, as we look to see who will be the next person to get a lap on the board. Looks like Brian and Casper are behind Plex, who is on a outlap. Of course, we are yet to see times coming from Tals, Plex, more Minnow Motor, Mino. I'm going to say his name differently every single time. I can only apologize, mate. When it comes to names, I say it how I see it. Like, and sometimes I see names and I pronounce them differently every single time. It's a blessing, and it's also astonishing. That is what it is. But we are here. More Minotaur. Thank you. And I probably absolutely butchered the Tar name as well. So like dinosaur. Okay, I got you. But Plex now about to get his lap underway as Plex about to get his lap underway as he tries to get a lap time on the board. Just under 12 minutes to go in the session. Of course, EVE have been one of the teams that have been consistently up there battling and getting Mixie in the top half of the field. Now, a big opportunity for them because they have been closing in recently on GT10, who currently sit third in the championship. And as I said, it's a big opportunity for EVE to maybe try to get themselves a little bit more closer to break away from OVR in behind, who of course are being represented by Nock and Nassim here tonight. But EVE, two very good drivers, two very capable drivers in Plex and Tals, and it's going to be interesting to see if those two are going to be able to outdo both of the GT10 drivers, who we know are very good, and both of the OVR drivers, because right now we've had like a 3-team battle between those 3 teams throughout the entirety of the season so far. And we are now getting to the point where it is going to be about who can maximise the most out of some of these circuits where you would expect a little bit of chaos to happen. Vegas is one of those where you do get a little bit of chaos happening. But here comes Plex now to the line. Let's see what is going to be for the EVE man, keeping it nice and tight to the line. And it's going to be a 29.7 EVE Plex take a Bowser as he goes on to provisional pole position by almost a full tenth of a second, 900ths of a second to be precise. And we've got his teammate who's also on the lap. We got more Minotaur coming through now. As I probably said it right then, didn't I? Let me know in the chat if I said it right that time. More Minotaur coming through now towards the final corner, and the FGE man goes up into P5, and Jake giving me confirmation there that I said it correctly that time. So I'm taking that. That is my victory today. Can I get 22 points? As Casper improving, going up into P2 with a 29.8. A good lap there from Casper. Got his lap time on the board. Graf Roach also got a lap time on the board. He's up in P7. As we've got Finley and Syra also on laps right now. As Syra coming through the first sector split, I'm presuming had a bit of a toe off of Graf Roach on the run down in towards turn number 1, but marginally down in sector 1 is Syra. So we'll come back on board with Syra in just a moment's time, as we've got Finley on a lap now coming through the middle sector split, and he is marginally up by around about 700ths of a second. And the run out of turn number 12 is going to determine just how much time you're going to gain down the Las Vegas strip, because if you get a good launch out of turn 12, you're just going to carry the speed all the way down into the braking at turn number 14. Finley though gets through 14, 15 and 16 absolutely fantastically, and now to the line will come the CPI man. Will he be able to do anything about Plex's time? As Finley to the line goes into P2 ahead of his teammate in Casper, but behind Plex, who currently still holds the provisional pole position. Here comes Syra to the line. Not an improvement there, unfortunately, for the Neverlast Racing driver. As we did get an improvement from Nassim there for OVR, the Welshman, getting up into P3, which is fantastic to see. And of course, continuing the battle, which I was alluding to earlier, where we usually have got this 3-team battle going on between the likes of EVE, GT10, and of course OVR. And with CPI and Neverlast Racing, usually the two teams that are usually towards the front, it's going to be very, very interesting to see if any of these teams can really get in amongst NLR and CPI. As we saw improvements coming in from Mad Dog up in the P6 for the GT10 man, as Quartz is in the pits, Knock on an in lap, Rappy's in the pits, Ward on a invalidated lap. We got Brent and Brian out there on out laps, so we'll come back to them in just a moment's time. We got Noisky coming in through the final sector. Just runs a little bit deep there, but he's on the ERS. He has 30% of it to burn, and he is going to burn it, and he's going to continue to burn it all the way to the line, and he's going to run out of deployment, but it will be a nearly 4/10th improvement for Noisky, who will jump up into P16. Rizzo looks like potentially he's going to be coming into the pit lane. So let's see who have we got on the flying laps. I believe Brian about to get his lap underway, so let's stay on board with the IRT man, as we have around about 5.5 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Currently it is Plex for EVE out on top, picking up that pole position point for EVE and putting himself in a great spot early on, because you don't want to be in the mid-pack. Turn number 1 on lap 1 does tend to provide a little bit of chaos and a little bit of high risk, high reward early on. So being either right at the front or right at the back kind of allows you to be able to avoid the carnage. But Brian there up by 0.5 as we come through turns number 7, 8, and now in towards turn number 9. Third gear, the gear choice there for the IRT driver, coming out of turn number 9 and running down now in towards turn number 10. Into the break-in now at turns 12. Right in the curve just a little bit much. As Plex has improved on his lap time and goes even quicker, 29.753 for the EVE man. And we got Brian, who is up on his time. And we're going to see if Brian's going to be able to climb himself a little bit further up the order, see if he can get near his teammate Seeb, who is of course currently P12. But Brian down in 17th place, 3/10 off his teammate, as here comes the IRT man now to the line. And we are going to see just what Brian's going to be able to do. Coming to the line now, and it's up to P14 for Brian, as he finds a bit of time and improves. Grav Roach unfortunately has invalidated on his one. Quads also invalidating as well. Seeb coming through sector 1 now. We're going to see what the IRT lead driver is going to be doing, as he's up by nearly 0.03 of a second. We'll come back on board with Seeb in just a moment's time. Rappy's in the first sector, DRS wide open in towards turn number 5, gets the car thrown in, a little love tap on the exit, will just slow this momentum down just a little bit, but Rappy's up by around about 0.5 there. Wards coming through now for FRT in the RBs. I do miss them when they used to be called Alpha Tally. In fact, I missed the Toro Rosso name. That's why I missed the Toro Rosso name. But Wards, they're marginally down in sector 1, not ideal for him. Turbo Toms though is up by over 0.2 of a second in the middle sector, and we got Seeb directly in behind, who's going to be gaining a little bit in terms of the toe. In fact, no, Seeb is ahead of him actually. That was Brian who was behind him. Seeb though is coming into the pit, so no improvement there from C. Turbo Tom, no to the line for LR, looking to gain some more points for the team. To the line will come Turbo Tom's 410th improvement, jumps up into P13 for LR. Rabbi's into the pit lane, as we'll have Ward's now probably jumping into the pits, but no, Ward out of this qualifying session, gets too much onto the exit curb, and that is why you want to avoid being a little bit too greedy on the curbs in that final sector, because they can chew you up and spit you out, just like what happened there. And look at the absolute traffic jam coming out of the pit lane. My. Of course, all the drivers running no line, of course, so it can be distracting having cars around you when you're on a hot lap. Speaking from personal experience, of course, from a few years gone by, but we have both CPI drivers line astern at the head of this huge train here, and it's going to be interesting because Finley is the lead car now on track, as well as in terms of lap time, but there's not much between the two CPI drivers. Of course, Nevertheless Racing are going to be looking to try and find improvements themselves to make sure they can get themselves up the order. As we got a minute to go in the session, we'll get no more lap times from Brian, Wards and Tom's here, as we are about to get our final runs underway here, as it is going to be I believe Brent will be the first one. No, not Brent. It will be Quartz, the first man to get a lap time on the board. So we'll stay on board with Quartz, who is the man who is in prime position to improve here. Currently in P10, getting a little bit too much on the curve, so not the ideal exit out of turn 8 for Quartz, but he managed to make the best of it. So let's see what the GT10 driver can do. His teammate's currently up there in P6, and he's currently behind both OVR drivers and both EVE drivers. Now for GT10, they need to make sure that they are going to be getting up the order, but that is not the way to do it, with an invalidation there for Quartz, and that is his qualifying session over and done with. Meanwhile, we got Finley, who is over a 10th down on his lap time. Nassim has invalidated on his, and Casper's facing the wrong way. You can't park there, sir. You really cannot park there, as unfortunately Nassim has to retire from the session, and that is it for both of the CPI drivers. Flex is down on his lap time, so he's giving it away. You got Syra now for Nevertheless Racing improving in the first sector. Let's see what the middle sector is going to be for Nevertheless Racing driver. It is still an improvement, should be enough to jump Syra onto the front row of the grid if the Nevertheless Racing driver can hold on to this lap time. As Tals goes up into P4 for EVE, a brilliant qualifying session from the Visio Racing team here tonight, as more Minotaur goes up into P3 as Knock for OVR improves a new pole position here for OVR, as Knock puts himself onto the front row, and as Syra there for Nevertheless Racing taking pole position at the end of the session. Absolutely incredible right there from Syra. What a fantastic launch out of turn 12 that the Nevertheless Racing driver got, that really just propelled Syra all the way down the Las Vegas strip into the braking at turn 14. And we saw the sector 2 split. He was 7/100ths of a second up on the previous lap time. So all that time was found in the final sector. The launch out of turn 12 was exactly what Syra needed. The corner sequence of 14, 15 and 16, perfect for the Nevertheless Racing driver to get pole position at the end. And ladies and gentlemen, the gap has been closed to 29 points, because it is Syra who takes pole position for Neverlast Racing. And we'll have OVR's Knock joining Syra on the front row, followed by EVE's Plex in third, with more Minotaur in fourth, Finley in fifth, Nassim in sixth, Tals in seventh, Casper in eighth, Mad Dogs ninth, and then Quats round out the top 10. Outside the top 10, we have Grav Road, Sieb, Turbo Toms, Brent, Rappies, Brian, Wards, Noisky, and Rizzo going to be coming through at the back of the field. And I can't lie, guys, the gap between the drivers, of course, not massive in terms of lap times. Of course, 6 tenths, I want to say, between the top 18 drivers, and that is incredibly close. And we are in for an absolute treat, because it's going to be very difficult for any of these drivers to really drop anyone out of DRS range. And if you fall out of the DRS range, you are absolutely done. You are done around this circuit if you do not have DRS, because it is so powerful down the Las Vegas Strip. Absolutely incredibly powerful down the Las Vegas Strip. And if you just have a setup that is just more tailor-made to Sector 1 and Sector 2, where you got a few more of the technical corners, especially in Sector 2, it's going to be, you're gaining lap time there, but you're going to be a sitting duck on the Las Vegas Strip. So it is going to be a very interesting race, to say the least, as we will be getting the lobby restarted pretty soon. And I want to get your guys' predictions right now in the chat. Let me know who your money's on. We got Leon right now saying IRT for the win in the chat, saying Syra, my goat. And Syra, of course, going to be starting from pole position, the best spot on the grid. Guys, let me know who is going to be taking the victory here tonight. Will we see this championship gap between CPI and Neverlast Racing close further? Of course, we will run through the rest of the championship standings in just a moment's time. But this is where things are going to get interesting, because CPI need to try and make sure that they hold off Neverlast Racing. Of course, that gap now, 160 points for Neverlast Racing, 189 points for CPI. The gap has closed. Will it close any more over the course of tonight's race? That's the question. And of course, we've got that brilliant battle going on between GT10, EVE, and OVR, with IRT just now beginning to get themselves into the mix. So this little 3-team battle could turn into a 4-team scrap for P3 pretty soon. We'll have to wait and see. But guys, we will be right back after this short break, and we will be back to get you back in the action for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We'll see you in just a moment's time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round number 8 here in the Esports Masters League for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. A fantastic qualifying session which saw nevertheless Racing's Syra take the top spot and the important pole position point. And of course, it is going to get very interesting to see if Nevertheless Racing can be able to take any more points off a CPI here tonight. But of course, we will be finding out. We got 25 laps of the Las Vegas circuit to race around. And of course, those 25 laps, you can see drivers really pushing the limits. Of course, the walls can be unforgiving. If you abuse the curbs, you can get chewed up and spat out. Of course, OVR's knock up there in P2 going to be joining Syra on the front row with Plex in P3 and more Minotaur in P4. Finley in P5 with OVR's Nassim in P6, EVE's Tals in P7, Casper down in P8. Not great for Casper. And then of course the final two drivers inside the top 10 were both of the GT10 drivers in 9th and 10th place, with Mad Dogs in 9th and Quartz in 10th. Of course, again, a quick look at the track that we are going to be racing at here tonight. It is the Las Vegas circuit, 6.1 kilometers, 3.8 miles in length, 2 DRS zones, 1 down the Las Vegas strip in towards turn number 14 and 1 down in towards turn number 5. And plenty of overtaking opportunities down in towards turn number 1. You can get moved down in towards turn number 5 with DRS. If you get a good launch out of 5, you could maybe have a look in towards turn number 7, down in towards turn number 12. Also a bit of an overtaking opportunity. Where we'll see most of the overtakes happen though is down that long Las Vegas strip, down with DRS all the way down in towards turn number 14. That's where we're going to see most of the overtaking action here tonight. And of course, with that is going to come a lot of mind games that we're going to see late into the race. If the cars are bunched up, we're going to see a lot of mind games. People playing a little bit of DRS chicken with each other. And then we got to look at the potential teamwork that could be happening with some of the drivers. Of course, Syra's teammate in Grav Roach, 10 spots behind, down in 11th place. So Grav Roach not going to be able to help out Syra for a good portion of the race, I would say, in terms of being able to work as a team. But you're going to have both of the OVR drivers in pretty close proximity to each other, with both of the EVE drivers in close proximity as well. Same with the CPI drivers, and of course the GT10 pairing starting right next to each other, both on the 5th row, going to be able to make sure that they are getting themselves through with some good teamwork. The drivers though are readying up to go back into the session. Make sure if there are any engineers tuning in right now, make sure you remind your drivers to load their setups. Don't forget your setups, guys. It can be an absolute nightmare. In terms of who I think is going to be taking victory here tonight, honestly, I want to say Plex for the race win. Just because I think Plex has the pace around here, and then I think Casper could have a very good drive up through the field, maybe get a P2 finish, and then I'm going to go Syra P3. So that is my top 3 picks right there. Guys, let me know your top 3 picks in the chat. I've gone for an EVE victory with Nevertheless Racing and of course CPI both getting a podium here tonight. But let me know if you guys agree, if you think you'll go a different way. Let's see. Of course, the top 10 was separated by just over 0.3 of a second between, of course, Quartz and the person on the pole position being Syra. So very close in the top 10, that is for sure. The top 14 was separated by just over 0.4 of a second. And then, of course, running down for the rest of the field, Rappies was less than half a second from 15th up to first, and then you had Noisky, the last of the competitive lap times to come in. That was around about just under 7 tenths of a second off of pole position. So the top 18 separated by just under 7 tenths of a second. Then, of course, we had Rizzo, who did not seem hooked up with this circuit at all. 1.5 seconds off of Syra's lap time. But it's one thing to do it in qualifying, it's a completely different thing to do it in the race. And speaking of the race, we are going to the 5 red lights to get underway here in Las Vegas, Sin City. The lights are out. Quads with a drive-through penalty for jump starting, and that is not ideal there. And Nassim has managed to get himself up into okay, so I believe, the tables, the timings have they've gone a little bit out of sync, but it's okay. We will work and persevere with it. It is Syra that is leading the way, so let's not look at the timing screen for right now. Let us focus on the action that is going on here as we go through turns number 7, 8, and now into 9. We saw Ferrari going off. Heartbreak for GT10 in the background, but Tals there battling with, I believe that is Casper. Yes, it was side by side in the middle sector, and I think now the timings have sorted themselves out, thankfully, so we're able to get the timing back up. And now, of course, the tyre compounds. A lot of the drivers opting for a set of the hard compound tyres. Only Wards, Noisky, Rappies and Rizzo going for a set of the medium compound tyres, and we are going to see how the alternative strategy is going to play out for those four drivers right there. Apologies guys for having to go and take the table away from you, but with the what's called a little bit of a issue that it was at the start of the race, not ideal. But it is Syra leading the way with Plex in behind. Knock is down to P4. Finley, Knock down to P3. Finley in P4, being hounded by more. Minotaur up in P5. Casper in P6 ahead of Talze in P7. Nassim there, it says 1 minute 34 seconds, but when we get around to the next contact there between Mo Minotaur and Finley, as we just come on board with that contact with the front left of Finley and the rear right of Mo Minotaur, and a heartbreak for the FGE man, who unfortunately gets a little bit of a tap around, loses a spot when he would have been hoping to have gained a spot. But yeah, what I was going to say was the times for these two will hopefully sort themselves out on the next lap, and we will have no more issues in terms of the timetables. Please, EA Codemasters, please, fingers crossed. As we have Syra still leading the way, 8 times the gap. Plex now with DRS, and now you're going to see just how powerful DRS is. The gap got closed by half a second down the Las Vegas strip. That is how powerful DRS is down the Las Vegas strip. And you saw Plex backing out as well, backing off as we ran down in towards turn 14. Look at this now, side by side action between Mo Minotaur and Casper. Nassim's in the mix as well for OBR as Tals gets through as well. Tals going to back out as now Tals and Mo Minotaur side by side through turn number 1 and through turn number 2. 3 in towards turn number 4. Mo Minotaur and EPE Tals still side by side on the exit, and they're still side by side on the rundown in towards turn number 5. Who is going to be the braver of the two? As look at that in behind, Graf Roach outbreaking Wards down the inside. Graf Roach up into P9 as Syra and Knox. Oh my god! Contact there between Knock and Syra as Syra falls well down the order. Knock 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. We jumped onto that very, very late. I was about to say that Syra has lost the lead of the race to Plex, and Knock now going to be looking for an opportunity. But what on earth happened there between Knock and Syra. I have absolutely no clue, but it's allowed Plex and Finley into the top 2 now, and Finley is getting away, and here comes Casper with DRS, ERS straight through. There goes Nassim, also going to follow through. And I wonder now, are we going to get some CPI teamwork? Will we see Finley try to back up Plex into Casper? I don't think Casper's going to need it though. Casper's already within DRS range right there. Nassim there in P4 as Nock is into the pits. I'm sure Syra will also be into the pits at the end of this lap as well. And I can imagine there will be some strong words in the stewards report from those two teams as well as those two drivers after the race. Not ideal there as we got Wards down the inside of more Minotaur as Wards up into P7 on a set of those medium compound tyres. As you see, Syra and Nock are also putting on a set of the medium compounds. Of course, Nock having to serve that 10-second time penalty in the pits as well for corner cutting. We'll see though if Syra and Nock are going to be able to get themselves back into this race. I think they're going to need a safety car, but maybe they'll be able to recuperate some points for their respective teams after whatever happened. Wards there grazing the wall. More Minotaurs grazing the wall as here goes Turbo Toms for LR through up into P8 goes Turbo Toms and looking to gain more points for the LR team. Meanwhile, you got Rappies getting through on Noisky. Up into P10 goes the FRT man. Job done for him. Meanwhile, in behind you got Steve and Noisky there side by side, and so you got Brent and Mad Dogs side by side. What has happened to the GT10 drivers? Both of them well down the order. I mean, I'm guessing Potts was the driver that we saw go off on lap 1 early on, but Mad Dogs down the order as well. Not a good showing in the early stages here at Vegas for GT10, and this is not what they need with both EVE drivers up in the top 5. And while they might be happy that potentially Syra and Nock came together, they are not gaining massively on either of them. Like, I mean, Mad Dog right now is picking up 3 points. That's GT10's points haul at this moment in the race. Compared to EVE, that's going to be picking up, it stays like this, EVE pick up a huge amount of points, and OBR also gain massively on GT10. GT10 got a lot of work to do. Lap 5 of 25 here as Finley now gets a good run out of turn number 12, and that might just help him hold on just a little bit longer ahead of Plex, as Plex now will have DRS and will close in. Casper is also closing in. Could we get free wide down in towards turn number 14 as Casper looks to the inside? Casper is going to have to back up, but he taps the rear of Plex, and now the CPI drivers side by side on the exit. That's going to open the door up for Nassim. Nassim now looking to try and get through on one of the CPI pairing. As here we go down in towards turn 17, it's going to be Casper versus Nassim side by side as they cross the start finish line to begin lap number 6. Down the inside goes Nassim as Casper holds it, flies around the outside as he holds on to P3, and look at that, the tight line that they've taken have allowed Towels to come through. The Towels down the inside in towards turn number 5 for EVE. Will he look for the move on Casper? No, he will not. He's going to sit in behind the CPI man. And now this is where the team games are going to get interesting, because you got both EVE and both CPI drivers right now in the top 4. Ladies and gentlemen, let the fun and games begin here at Vegas. Nassim there in P5, going to be looking for opportunities to get back through. And then of course you got Gravroach. Great start to the race for Gravroach, getting up into P6. More Minotaur is right there as well for FGE, looking to pick up some big points. Turbo Toms having a great race so far for LR. Wards and Rappies also holding on to this train, as is everyone all the way down to Brent in P14. So we got a 13 car DRS train as Tal's potentially having a little look on the inside of Casper. Going to try to outbreak the CPI driver. No, going to sit in behind. Nassim also going to sit in behind, as well as they look for the runs out of turn 14, 15 and 16. Now heading down in towards turn number 17. It is Plex that still leads the way for EVE. CPI's Finley in second place, with CPI's Casper in P3. And then of course we've got EVE's Talers here in P4. Nassim for OVR in P5. Nevertheless Racing's Grafroach here in P6. FGE up in the top 10 with more Minotaur in P7. LR up in the top 10 as Nassim and Tals there trading positions, as Nassim sends one on the inside of Tals up into P4. Goes the OVR man. And now if you're CPI, this is where you work as a team by here and you get through on Plex, because in terms of the battery they all are pretty similar in terms of the battery. Nassim looks like he's burnt the most out of everyone in the early stages, which is not ideal for the OVR man. He will be a sitting duck, but as long as Finley can get the good run that he needs, and it doesn't look like he did get a good run, but with DRS he will close all the way up to the back of the EVE man. As long as they can get a good run out of turn 12, the double overtake for CPI is going to be on, as Finley's going to close up but not go for the move. And then of course Casper and Nassim will all line the stern. Talers there as well. Grafroach right underneath the rear wing also, as we look now off the front of Casper, as you got Talers on the inside and Nassim in behind, and we're going to be putting the CPI driver under pressure here as Talers tries to hang it all the way around the outside turn 2 and in towards turns 3 and 4. A little bit of a snap through turns 3 and 4, but Talers there still putting the fight in, as Grafroach sends one around the outside of Nassim. Contact there with Talers, and that is not good for Talers at all. Now pressure from Nassim in behind, but this is exactly what Grafroach needed to get himself into the top 4 after the incident, of course, between Nock and Syra, which of course sees both of them down in 16th and 18th place respectfully. Rappy's early pit stop into the pits set the hard compound tyres for him. Lap 8 of 25. Plexo looks like he is getting the run at turn 12 that he needs every time, because here's the thing, Finley will close up, and he is closing up. Finley is closing up with DRS, with ERS, but he's not close enough to go for the move without risking the lunge down the inside, and that unfortunately means he just has to sit in behind the Plex for the time being. As Jav in the chat, of course, alluding to the incident early on which saw Syra and Nock come together. I mean, we saw the end of the incident, we didn't see what started it, but the two of them tangled up together and it was an almighty crash between the pair of them, and we would have to see what the stewards are going to say regarding that particular incident. But right now it is EVE and CPI. It's the EVE and CPI show at the moment, with both of the teams pair of drivers inside the top 5. Grafroach for Neverlast Racing is on a big drive at the moment. Remember, starting down in P11, climbing up into P4 so far in this race. It's been a great first stint for Grafroach thus far, climbing up the order quite remarkably as the Neverlast Racing driver. But of course, it should we are missing a couple of drivers from the top 5 due to the fact that they collided with each other in terms of Syra and Nock. But here comes both of the CPI drivers, double overtake on Plex here. Plex going to try to hang it around the outside of Casper, and this is going to be very interesting. Here comes Grafroach, so Gravroach looking for the run, as it looks like Plex is going to give the toe to Casper over Gravroach, and they're still going to be side by side now. Is Casper and Plex in towards turn number 1. Casper's going to try to hold it around the outside, the inside line though for Plex, and Plex will hold on to P2 in this race, but Gravroach now in a position where he can maybe attack the CPI man up ahead, but what he has done is force Casper into trying to go for the overtake on Plex, and no way through for Casper. Everyone marking up the inside, making sure they can't get lunged down the inside line through turn number 5, but now we are beginning to see a bit of mind games happening here on lap 10, as Gravroach playing a little bit of mind game with Casper. Casper trying to play some mind games with Plex, and CPI as a parent also trying to put some mind games together, as this battling has allowed Finley just to get a little bit further away, and that is not the run that Plex needed out of turn 12, because he's not going to be gaining on Finley until DRS is activated. But here comes Casper. Casper with DRS now, going to try to draw alongside the EVE man, and there we saw the flash of red light as Casper is going to send it down the inside. We got Tales. Oh, contact there between Casper and Plex will hold on to P2, but we saw Casper there try to really force it down the inside there, use a bit of battery, try to get enough alongside to make it perfectly side by side, which it was. And then of course we saw it was Nassim around the outside of Tales there, out of nowhere. The OBR and EVE man, what's happening with Gravroach here? Gravroach at one point was just in P4. I was about to allude to Tales getting himself back into the top 4 after overtaking Gravroach with DRS, but now Nassim now up into P4, as we got support from Neverlast Racing in the chat as well. Jay Wizzy saying upper NLR indeed, as unfortunately a big drive from Gravroach from a pretty lackluster qualifying from him, qualifying down in P11. Meanwhile, unfortunately for the second of the Neverlast Racing drivers, Syra caught up in an instant with Knock early on in the race, forcing both Knock and Syra into the pit lane for early pit stops, and you saw there both FRT drivers getting through on Syra up into P14 and 15. There you go, and now down the Las Vegas strip again, lap number 11 of 25. Plex is closing in on Finley with DRS, but not enough, and this is where Finley is doing absolutely everything he needs to give his teammate the best chance, because here comes Casper now. He's going to look to the outside line through the final corner, and he'll turn to the outside again for turn number 1, through turn number 2 as well, but he'll turn to the inside for turn number 3. And here we go, as Casper trying to force it on the inside, and there you see right there Finley giving the toe to Casper to make sure that Casper has the opportunity to stay in front of Plex. Plex so going to try to outbreak and go around the outside, which he does. Fantastic there from EVE's Plex. You saw the little bit of teamwork going on between CPI with Finley trying to get the toe to Casper to get him ahead and get into that corner first, but Plex was having absolutely none of it. And that's him though, just sitting in behind waiting for his opportunity, because he knows an opportunity will open up at some point. And now looking at the battery usage of everyone, I mean, Gravroach right now sitting pretty. You got Talis sitting pretty. Nassim sitting pretty decent. Same with Casper. And then we've got the front two. Not so much. Less ERS to play with. But here comes Casper now with DRS. They'll both have DRS. So running down in towards turn number 14. And it will be Plex again that holds on to P2. And right now, CPI are unable to get rid of Plex and get him out of this battle here, because look at this now. Casper on the inside line, gonna force his way through, and he will get through. Dab of ERS usage right there from Casper to get through, and now it's a CPI 1-2. And this is where you're going to see the teamwork begin to happen. We've seen this so many times this season from CPI. They always work incredibly well as a unit. When they're in this position, they control the race. That is why they are in the lead of the championship. And now it's going to be a case of, can Plex, Nassim, Gravroach and Turbo Tom's up there in P6. Great race so far from the LR driver. But can any of these guys break up this CPI pairing at the front? That is going to be the big question, guys. Will they be able to do it? Let me know in the chat what you think and see if you think that they will be able to do it. Talizo has come into the pits, fresh mediums on those tyres. Same with more Minotaur as well, and they are going to be going to the end of the race. Lap 13 of 25 as gap to leader. I mean, the gap to leader, I mean, do I give you guys a gap to leader? Do I do it? As Gravroach gets through on Nassim, side-by-side action going through as Gravroach there, unable to get through on Nassim. But look at this now, Plex into the pit lane, as is Finley. So Casper will take the lead of the race for the first time, as Plex and Gravroach and Nassim and Turbo Toms all into the pits, Sieb as well, Mad Dogs. And now it is all about as the undercut work for Tals and Minotaur as they come through the start finish straight now. Here goes Tales, and Tales now up in to the net race lead, and that could be big as more Minotaur side by side with Finley on the exit of the pit lane, and there is more Minotaur up into P4 on track, but a net P2 here tonight, and that is fantastic work from more Minotaur and Talis on the undercut. Plex in a net P4 now, but now his teammate is in a net race lead, and with the undercut, Asper could be in big trouble here because he's going to join down the order as Rappies and Turbo Toms are battling out there with quads out of sync, 13 lap old hard tyres, and heartbreak I think for GT10 here tonight, as it looks like is going to be a long race for them. Syra, I mean, safety car is needed for the Neverlast Racing driver to get back into this race, that is for sure, but I'm sure Syra will be very thankful for DRS to kind of tow along here, as Brent trying to help out more Minotaur, and there goes Casper into the pit lane. Casper now, let's see where he's going to come out to. I believe Brent will be into the pit lane as well at the end of this lap. Talis will take the lead of the race proper. Finley is now in P2. In fact, no, Brent's actually going to stay out. Brent's going to try to do his teammate a solid here and try to back up as much as he can, but he is going to be ahead of Casper. And oh, contact there, that's front wing loss. Front wing off of the OVR man, and that's in there with front wing damage. Here comes Gravroach. Gravroach now through on Casper, and Brent on those hard tyres in the mix with these guys. You see that front left end plate is gone on the Alpine. Damage for Nassim here as Brent is really, oh my god, as Gravroach, I don't know if Gravroach just completely missed his braking point and just careered straight into the back of Nassim. Absolute calamities. Any front wing damage on the Sauber? It doesn't appear to be. I do not know how he's got away with that one. What about on Casper? Because could have been very easily a bit of front wing damage picked up for Casper. No damage there for Casper. Frank Price, no damage for either of those two drivers in that, because that could have gone very bad very quickly. And now you got Gravroach getting through on Nassim. Up in the P5 goes Gravroach. Nassim with wing damage, and it is important now for Casper to get through on Nassim as quickly as possible, because you see the gap is 1 second between Gravroach and Plex in this race. And in fact, Plex, having a look around the outside, of more Minotaur through turns number 1 in towards turn number 2. Around the outside, side-by-side action between the EVE and FGE, man. And it is Plex that will take the P3 position. And now we're in a situation where EVE can work as a team versus CPI in this race. And more Minotaur right now in a fantastic position for FGE. Gravroach, a big recovery drive from Gravroach from the poor qualifying by Gravroach's standards, at least down in P11 up to P5 in this race. So a good showing from Gravroach. Nassim with wing damage. If Casper does not get through on the Las Vegas strip, I think Casper drops out of DRS range, and I'm not sure if there'll be enough pace for Casper to get himself back within DRS range if he falls out of it. He has to get past right here, right now, and that looks like exactly what Casper is going to do. As Mad Dogs gets the overtake done on Brent up in the P9, goes to GT10, man, as Brent is on all the hards, and he's just, he's staying out to try and make some gaps now for his teammate. I mean, it's teamwork at the end of the day. It is strategy. Yeah, it is what it is, but Casper getting the job done on Nassim there. So Casper up into P6, Nassim into P7. So Turbo Toms will be the next one to try and overtake the OVR man. And this right here potentially is huge for EVE here tonight, because it's a huge amount of points they're gaining on GT10 and OVR, because Nassim with wing damage is going to be wounded in this middle sector, and it's going to hinder him as he comes onto the Las Vegas strip as well, as he's not going to get the turning that he would like through turns 12 to launch himself onto the Las Vegas strip, which means he's going to be a sitting duck. And you're going to see the gap between Rapids and Nassim probably close down in the middle sector over the coming laps, and it's just going to be a long race for Nassim now with that damage. And here comes Plex on Finley. Plex going to be looking to get through. Casper does not have damage, at least visibly from what I could see. So look at this. Oh, Finley there on the inside of Talis. You saw a little wiggle from Plex. Plex not happy with that. I'm assuming Plex may be feeling that a little bit more room should have been given to himself to make it 3 wide, but I mean, they backed out of it, fortunately for the pair. Fortunately for all 3 of them, because that could have been an almighty collision if someone didn't back up. Oh, Gravroach sideways there, contact with more Minotaur, and now looking at the back, off the back, the Sauber. The side-by-side action between more Minotaur and Casper in this race as they run down in towards turn number 5. DRS wide open for the pair of them, as it will be more Minotaur down the inside, as you see off the back of Gravroach's car. No wing damage there on the CPI man, so there you go, Jake. No wing damage there for Casper, but Casper does get P5 from more Minotaur. But now Finley is the man at the front of this train, and he has 2 EVE drivers directly behind him who will be looking to try and get through at some point. They may play it nice and smart at the moment and not try and force anything. Finley needs Casper. That's what Finley needs. He needs his teammate to back him up. Casper is trying to make his way through. He's currently in P5. He's trying to close out to make an overtake on Gravroach. He's going to try to outbrake Gravroach. Gravroach there with front wing damage, and he's missing his end brake as well. So Gravroach wounded in this race as well. But it's not going to stop Gravroach from fighting here, because Nevertheless Racing are in a championship battle with CPI, so they need as many points as they can to minimise the damage that has been done with Syra and Nox instant early on in the race. But Turbo Toms in P6 right now for LR. Remember, LR over the course of the season thus far, 9 points to their name. What a drive from Turbo Toms. I'm just going to say it right now. What a drive from Turbo Toms. Obviously, Mo Minotaur having a fantastic race as well. He's had an incident where it's just dropped him down to a P8, unfortunately for him. But he is definitely a driver that has absolutely shown what he's capable of here tonight. He's up there battling with the big boys at the front. And with that, obviously, fantastic from Mo Minotaur, which is obviously helping FGE in terms of being able to draw further away from VMV and get themselves up the order. But look at this now, here comes the double overtake from EVE and Finley. That's settled in behind, and I think that was Tales there letting Plex go. So there we go, Plex into the race lead, Tales there in second place. Now Finley in third with Casper in fourth. It is EVE, CPI, CPI. As side-by-side action there between the two EVE drivers. I think a little bit of contact made between the pair of them as well. And Finley trying to get away through, and look at that on the battery immediately. And there is Plex giving the tow to Tales there. And there's just no way through for Finley as he can't get the move done. Or can he with the traction around the outside? Maybe he can, maybe he will. Finley down the inside in towards turn number 7, in towards turn number 8 now, as Tales will have the inside line for that, and now through turn number 9. Oh, so close between the pair. And now here's the thing, will Plex back off to help his teammate out? Will Plex back off and help his teammate? He is backing off. Plex is backing off to help Tales here. As now Finley on his ERS. Neither of them have a huge amount of ERS, but the one that does is Casper. And here comes Casper. Down the Las Vegas Strip will have DRS, as they both will, as it looks like it's going to be a double overtake from the CPI pairing. Either side of Tales, and Gravroach is going to get through as well. Fantastic teamwork going on from the CPI pairing as they went either side of Tales up into P2 and P3 for Casper and Finley. Gravroach getting a lovely momentum out of there as Turbo Toms now up into P4 for LR as Gravroach tries to outbreak Turbo Toms around the outside, trying to hold on to that P4. Turbo Toms going to settle down into P5. Tales though goes from P2 down to P6 in the span of 5 corners. Wow. Now Plex is in a dangerous situation right now, because now Casper and Finley should be able to get through, as there's a yellow flag going on in sector 1. I'm not sure what that is particularly for. I think it might have been Nassim potentially having a moment. I'm not entirely sure though. But the top 6 have pulled away. Mo Minotaur though, 1.5 seconds off the back of Tales. Mad Dogs trying to recover a good amount of points for GT10 here, because they are getting outscored quite heftily right now by EVE, and in terms of the championship, that is not good for them. Meanwhile, lap 21, about to end lap 21, about to begin lap 22. Casper with DRS is going to rapidly close in on Plex here, and he is going to go for the move almost immediately, I'm going to think. Actually, oh, contact there as Casper backs off, does not want to go for the overtake. And I was just about to say then, maybe Casper and Finley are going to be content enough just to stay behind and go for it when the time is right. Of course, we know CPI, they will use their teamwork to their advantage. They will get through when they want, but also what they do very well, and it's something that has helped them over the course of the season, when they go on the attack as they are right now, they're patient, they are precise, they are calculated in when they do it. But the thing is, they have Gravroach in behind, and the Gravroach probably won't sit around and let CPI play these games, because Gravroach wants to make sure that Neverlast Racing pick up a huge chunk of points here tonight. Turbo Toms for LR in the top 5. He's someone to keep an eye on as well. Talis in P6. This is going to be very interesting in terms of the ERS strategy coming onto the final lap. That is for sure. We could be seeing 4 wide down the Las Vegas Strip, guys. Remember that. We could be seeing 4 wide at some point. Here goes Casper though on Plex. Plex, I don't think really putting too much of a fight into this. He knows he's going to be losing out with the DRS, as he's going to try to fight to hold on to P2. Oh, contact there. And Finley in the wall. Turbo Tom's up in the P2. What's happening with Gravroach? Gravroach, I think, getting caught out with it as well. But my God. Finley and Plex there coming together. Finley in the wall. Plex and Finley now down to P5 and P6 at the back of this train. Casper up into the race lead. And now Turbo Toms for LR. 9 points this entire season LR have got. And Turbo Toms is in a potential shout for a race victory here. As Finley, Plex and Gravroach battling out, and there goes Plex down the inside of Gravroach. They get locked up with each other as Gravroach, oh my God, as Gravroach really fighting hard here against both Finley and Plex, and that's allowed the top 3 to get away. But Casper, not only has he got away, he's 1.5 seconds up the road. Here goes Plex on Finley, trying to get this move done, and he's gonna offset Finley again. And now down the start finish straight, here goes Talis now through with DRS he'll have as well. And this is going to be big for Talis. In fact, no, it's not Talis that has DRS, it's Turbo Toms. Turbo Toms will have DRS and close up. And there goes Finley, there goes Plex on Gravroach. And Plex will sit in behind Finley. Oh, look at this, Rappy's down the inside. And Mad Dogs is in the mix as well. As now, all the carnage has allowed Rappy's and Mad Dog for FRT and GT10. And Seeb for IRT. As well as more Minotaur around the outside of IRT. Seeb in towards turn number 1. Look at this now. Mad Dogs has gone down the inside of Rappy's as there's contact there between Seeb and Rapids as they go through turn number 1, and it's all kicking off here, guys, on the final few laps here in the Esports Masters League as Turbo Toms and Casper side by side. LR versus CPI for the race win here, and it is all going to be about who is going to have DRS right at the end of this race. Casper happy to let Turbo Toms go. As the gap between Finley and Talis has come down to 1.1 seconds. Yeah, Turbo Toms leading this race for LR. Jaros here alluding in the chat that the DRS chicken games are about to be played, and you are absolutely right, they are about to be played. What we have got though is Casper. You saw what potentially Casper was trying to do. It might have been DRS chicken games, but also it was probably to get Finley back within DRS range. As well as Casper and Talis side by side, wheel banging through turn number 1. And remember, guys, he who has P2 has the best opportunity of getting the overtake to work here. And look at that. Oh, he's forcing Casper to go for the move to put him off wide, and that might allow Talis to hang it around the outside, but no, he's unable to. Finley not close enough to the back of this train just yet, but he will be in the mix. And there we go, there it is. Finley is now within DRS range as Turbo Toms is the lead car, but I can almost guarantee when we come to the braking for turn 14, it is going to be someone else leading this train. That is for sure, as now it is all going to be about who is going to be in the best position to take this race win. Tallis has to overtake both Casper and Turbo Toms. With DRS, he's going to be able to get it done. And look at this now. Here comes Casper with DRS. Here comes Turbo Toms. Getting overtaken by Tallis with DRS, and Tallis to the inside of Casper. Casper needs to look for the better exit out of turn 14, 15 and 16, and he is going to get a good exit. Now it's all about the ERS usage to the line. Here comes EVE's Tallis, but here comes Casper around the outside, side by side action as they come through. It's going to be Casper taking the race win ahead of Tallis in second place. Turbo Toms a podium for LR. Finley there in P4, Plex in P5, Gravroach P6, P7 for Mad Dogs and GT10, Rappies in P8 for FRT, more Minotaur, a brilliant result for FGE in P9, and Seeb IRT rounding out the top 10 as FRT Wards in 11th place, Quartz in 12th, Syra after the early contact with Knock up there in P13, Brian there in 14th for IRT, and then Noisky taking that final point paying position in 15th place, and both OVR drivers outside of the points, but both of them on soft tyres, so I'm assuming, yeah, fastest lap there for Knock. So OVR do walk away with something in this race, as I hope they made it to the line. I think they did. Dirk in the chat saying well played from Casper there. The mind games were real coming into the final few laps, that is for sure, but it was all about that exit coming out of turn 15 there that gave Casper the momentum that he needed to go clean around the outside of Tallis for the race win. But it is CPI with another victory this season. Top step of the podium for CPI, and the CPI Casper this time around taking that top step of the podium. But let's run you through the results here from Las Vegas. It is of course Casper taking victory for CPI ahead of Tallis for EVE. Turbo Toms with a podium result for LR Legacy Racing, 9 points so far this season. Turbo Toms has just got himself a podium for LR. Fantastic from him. Finley for CPI in P4 with Plex EVEs in P5. Gravroach for Neverlast Racing in P6 with GT10's Mad Dogs in P7. Rappies for FRT in 8th. More Minotaur in P9 for FGE. And of course IRTC round out the top 10. And of course we had Ward for FRT in 11th. GT10's Quartz in 12th. Syra for Neverlast Racing in 13th, and of course Brian in 14th for IRT, Noisky for VMV in 15th, Nassim and Knock outside the points, but Knock with the fastest lap of the race does pick up a point for his team. And then of course our non-finishers unfortunately tonight were of course Brent for FGE and of course Rizzle for VMV. Well, what a race that was, ladies and gentlemen. A absolute nail biter all the way down to the end. And you know what? We get to do it again next week for round number 9, because we go from Las Vegas, the night race in Las Vegas, around the street circuit in Vegas, to Marina Bay, is to Singapore for the Singapore Grand Prix, round number 9 under the nightlife in Singapore. Tyre temps are going to be an interesting factor. We could potentially see rain at Singapore as well. And of course, the walls ever unforgiving around that circuit is going to be very interesting. I am personally very excited for the Singapore Grand Prix. It is a favourite circuit of mine to commentate over. Is a track that does provide a lot of good action and a lot of chaos as well. So we will see how the drivers do with that next week. Of course, that is round number 9. CPI can go ahead into the final third of the season now, knowing that they've extended the gap at the top they have the ability now to play around a little bit. They can't play around too much, but they can have a bad race now. Right, and that is important for CPI. They can afford a bad race. They're not going to want a bad race, but they can afford a bad race. And it's going to be interesting to see if any of the remaining circuits, Neverlast Racing, are going to be able to come back at CPI. But we will find out. Next week, of course, we are in Singapore, and we will be seeing you guys there. Again, a massive shout out to our sponsors at Ronin Printworks 3D. Of course, they do some fantastic 3D modeling of steering wheels, etc., etc. And they are fantastic. I mean, I've seen them. They are fantastic. But guys, we will be back next week for the Singapore Grand Prix. Massive congratulations to Casper on the race win. Commiserations to Turbo Toms and, of course, Thales, who joined him on the podium. But that battle at the end, absolutely thrilling. And we will be back next week to do it all again for the Singapore Grand Prix. Until then, guys, I have been Michael Edwards, and we'll catch you next week at round number 9 in Singapore. Until then, it is good night.